See that okay?
Yes, thank you, Aaron. It was good. Patty, just so you're aware, your mic's on.
Thanks.
Sure. Good evening and welcome to the Allegheny Clarion Valley School Board Workshop meeting for November 11th, 2024. The AC Valley workshops are conducted virtually, and the link to access the workshop is always posted to the acvsd.org website. During this workshop, I will provide the school board members with information that will help to clarify agenda items. So please, at any time, jump in and ask questions throughout the meeting. And as a friendly reminder, just keep your mic turned off until you're ready to speak. And at this time, Madam Secretary, please conduct the roll call.
Clifford Adams. Patty Anderson.
Here.
Carrie Arbogast.
Here.
John Burke.
Here.
Brady Fight.
Here.
Diane Page.
Here.
Jeff Powell.
Here.
Eric Sundling.
Here.
And Kelly Terwilliger.
Here.
Thank you, Tammy. Just moving right down through the agenda, we do not have anybody signed up to participate from the public at this time for next Monday. And we do have a presentation scheduled from the senior class, and they will be requesting a senior trip. And you will see advisors Julie Raybuck and Tracy Patton will be with them as well. And at this time, I'll open it up to see if there are any board concerns. Okay, moving right into the agenda. Letter A, Aaron, if you could take us to page 5, we have about 10 conferences and field trips there. First off, you'll see Mrs. Jamison, high school biology teacher. She submitted a request to take a group of students to the Edge of Extinction competition. This is for grade 8 students. They will be competing against other schools, answering questions about ecosystem, habitats, and life cycles in the unique biomes of the Allegheny National Forest, the Clarion River, Appalachian Homestead, and peat bogs of the Allegheny Front. We also have Mrs. Namelli. She submitted a request to take a group of students to the Math 24 competition. This will be group students from grades 4 through 8. In addition, we have Rachel Paz, our high school Spanish teacher and also gifted coordinator. She submitted a request to go to IU6 for a training that'll be in May. She's been doing a lot of work just to make sure that we have a functioning gifted program. And then you'll see I put in a request for myself, Dr. Jeffel, as well as Mrs. Thurber, and we'll be driving out to Luzerne County. We'll work half a day tomorrow, drive out, and then stay over, get up bright and early, and we're going to spend the morning at the East 2 Correction Facility that's in Pittstown. It's a almost exact same facility as we got up on top of the hill, and then we'll be going to North Central Secure Unit, Nest 2, and we'll be spending a couple hours in the afternoon before driving back. We'll be working with their administrative team to talk about preventative classroom management, curriculum alignment, curriculum instruction, staffing, and we met a lot of colleagues through the N&D conference, so we're going to be trying to travel around and also open up the facility for them to tour as well. In addition to that, we have grades 3 through 5, teaching and learning math. They submitted a request to go to the Allegheny Intermediate Unit in Homestead, and that'll be 2 trainings, one in December and one in February. They're going to focus in on a variety of mathematical instructional strategies, techniques. So kudos to that group of staff members and also Mrs. Thurber for arranging that. We also have Tracy Hartle, one of our learning support math teachers at the junior senior high school. She submitted a request to attend the PSSA Keystone Math Open-Ended Test Boot Camp. And if you're not aware, there are a lot of open-ended questions on the PSSAs as well as the Keystones as well. And if we can help support the students on how to answer those questions, then I'm sure that we'll have better success. And then we have Stacy Redding, Food Service Director. She put in for the PRFSD annual conference, and she attends that just to, be provided with updates and any kind of business that's going on within her group. Michelle Austin, she put in her annual conference to go to the Hershey Lodge. That's the annual data summit is for reporting our data, optimizing governance, quality, and applications of the data that's being reported, and to improve the impact of her professional learning opportunities. So thanks to Michelle for taking that trip. We have Rachel Forsyth, and we've been emailing back and forth, and she put in for, it's an online training, it's virtual art education. And she sent me down the link, and it looks like a wonderful program that's specific to the arts. And that's the tough thing about professional development here within the district, and probably most. It's hard to encapsulate all of our content areas. So when we have a teacher reaching out for training like this, we should support it. So kudos to Rochelle as well. We also have Peggy Plowman and Tracy Hartle in the Do Something Good Club. They submitted a request to go to the Parker Personal Care Home, and they're going to be providing community outreach to local care home. So kudos to them as well. And Aaron, you could take us back up at this time. Are there any questions about those conferences and field trips that we have in front of you this evening? Moving down through letter B, we do have two substitute teachers, Yvonne Murray, elementary K through 8, and retired teacher, Mrs. Mary Rothen, and she'll be helping out up high school, and we welcome both of those substitute teachers. And just keep in mind that when we have a retired teacher on the sub list, they will be the last one to call. We call the core content specific teacher if we have any, and then a certified teacher. And then we call our emergency certified teachers. And then final on the list, we do call the retired teacher, just so that you're aware of the process. Then moving down through the consent agenda, letter C and D is the PTO. We have a very active PTO group, and we support them in all their endeavors. They'll be hosting the Santa shop and then also a distribution of fundraisers. Mrs. Logue, she's doing her annual financial aid workshop November 21st in the LGI. And then letter F, we did get a request from the football boosters program to use the cafetorium. Understand that's a Sunday, and we try to avoid Sundays if we can, but they're working around 2 different basketball schedules right now, and we don't want to exclude anybody or any family members from that activity. And that is the one day that we can get the whole team together. And they had a wonderful season and played the whole way up into the playoffs and did great. So I do recommend that we approve that, and I will be working with Stacy Fox to make sure that we are able to get everything set up. And then letter G, we have a request from Deb Lemon to be a volunteer with the PTO. Do we have any questions or comments about the consent agenda before moving on? Under finance and purchase, next Monday, we'll be paying the bills as usual and get a report from Mrs. Redding. But this evening, we do have a motion down there to increase our tax collectors' bills by 25 cents. And that would be the beginning of fall 2025. And that was a discussion that we've been having here at the district. And those are the recommendations that we're making. I think our tax collectors are kind of in the middle, and that'll help to support their endeavor. Moving on to personnel, we do have a handful of motions down there I'd like to break down for you. Starting off with letter A, we do have an employee 200 that will be using FMLA leave this spring, and you'll see right below that, we do have an advertisement for a long-term sub to fill that maternity leave. In addition to that, we've been updating some job descriptions, and the first one that we have in front of you is the business manager job description. I have been working with Aaron Morrison on making some adjustments to not only that, but also the central office school board secretary job description. And we're going to share some duties. We're going to help relieve some of the payroll functions from the business office and get additional support with the new central office secretary. And Erin, with her background with HR, is going to help oversee our HR process as well in there. And in addition to that, I'm going to pause and turn it over to Erin, and she's going to provide the school board an update with some of the work that she's been doing about outsourcing payroll. And she has some updates, and kudos to Erin for the work that she's putting in on all of this endeavor. Erin?
Hi, everybody. Okay, so done some research on outsourcing of the payroll. I've talked to some of the vendors that handle the outsourcing. One of them was ECCA payroll. Erie School District uses them. I believe it was sent to me in an email if I could contact them. I did talk with them, Erie, and see how they did like the system. They do not use CSIU, and they've had some issues. And the initial quote that was given to them. Anytime any change needed to the program to talk to CSIU, which was their software, cost them extra money. So kind of crossed them off the list as not wanting to cost more. I did talk to Butler School District. They do not outsource now, but they did outsource to ADP. They said they don't recommend ADP. The systems don't talk, and it required additional work on the back end as far as PCERS was concerned. David had gotten an email from a vendor of EDM, which was owned by Matt Lentz, who is the CEO of that that company. I know he teaches at Wilkes-Barre and he does a lot of the business administration pieces of it. After talking to him, I think he's up and coming with this part of the administration as far as payroll. Wasn't real impressed with some of the stuff that he had said, and I know he was looking at going with Freedom Area, which I believe is close to AC Valley, or over towards Hermitage Way. I talked to them, I called them and talked to their lady, and they had just signed on with him, so she couldn't give me any more information other than they had voted him in prior to last board meeting. Let's see. JM Associates was recommended by CSIU. I did talk to them. They were the ones that were very pricey. They did give me a list of things and duties that they do cover in all of that, but kind of ruled them out as far as just the price in general. It was very expensive. And this morning and last week, I've been talking to the school business consultants. They were recommended by PASBO, my mentor that I'm dealing with through them. They're currently owned by two business managers that I just found out are still active business managers. They are in the CSIU system. They're familiar with that. They did send me two quotes. One of the quote was for roughly, if they did everything from the minute we scanned the timesheets till it was done at the end of the year, W-2s, it was going to be roughly around $39,000 for the year. So went back and forth with him this morning and said, what if we did some of it in-house and you took it as far as a backup? Kind of looked at the data entry piece, which would take a little bit more of the possible the position out front. My suggestion was, we know the school calendar, we know the contracts. If we data entered it and they went from there forward and took care of PCERS and the W-2s and everything from there forward, the cost was going to be $33,800. They do have a 90-day exit clause on the contract, so we could get out of it at any time. And it generally renews annually, automatic. So those were some options that were looked at, as well as I reached out to some of the districts in the county, Union area, Keystone, Red Bank, and Clarion. None of them do outsource. However, Red Bank did tell me they did at one time. They had the IU do it. And prior to that, they had ADP and they suggested not using ADP. So and then that's when David and I started to talk about the job descriptions and how maybe those could possibly be changed if the board chose not to consider these options.
Thanks, Aaron. Any thoughts and comments from school board members?
Aaron, you might have told me this and I might have missed it, but can you tell me what the pricing was with that one company that were owned by the two business administrators if we did like the a la carte option?
The a la carte was, hang on, I have my notes. It was $33,800.
Okay.
That breaks out to around $1,300 a payroll. That's how they came up with that.
Okay. And if they did everything, it was 39.
Yes, it was 1,500 a payroll.
Oh, okay. Okay, I see what you're saying.
Yeah.
And I'm sure we could offset some of those costs with the West 2 revenue coming in because there's a large portion of that, going through the grant and staffing we have up there as well. So we can kind of break that down too if, we were looking at from the dollars standpoint.
I mean, so I'll give my 2 cents here. I think we definitely need to look into, either having a company take care of everything or go with an a la carte option and have them take care of some things. I think it would definitely be beneficial to the district. I understand it's another line item that we did not originally budget for, but as we're building next year's budget, I think we need to take this into account. Especially if Aaron has to be off for whatever the reason. I understand that we can cross train somebody, but if you don't do that task day in and day out, when it comes time to it, you're not going to be familiar with it. You're going to have questions, and you might have to end up not having correct information entered in, not having things done in a timely manner. So I think we need to consider this heavily.
I'm gonna weigh in on this. This is Carrie. Now, Aaron, I just want to clarify one thing because I use ECCA and I was the one that sent you that email. Erie City Schools said that they pay extra when they call with questions. Is that what you meant? Did I mishear that?
So because my understanding of what Erie told me was it does not talk to CSIU. So anytime they have to upload to CSIU, it costs them to change the program to however they talk, which I don't know how that works.
So it just doesn't integrate with that program.
Correct.
But would it need to?
Well, it posts all to the fund accounting that hits the expense side. That's how CSIU rolls from the payroll to the fund accounting side.
So there's some logistical questions we can talk about offline, but I'm going to weigh in here as far as the costs that you were mentioning with that one company with the a la carte option. And I just want to mention this to the board. If you're talking about $33,000, consider what we're paying a full salary for a central office secretary. Do we want to absorb that type of, that's essentially a salary per year, to outsource one particular function. I don't know that is a cost effective move for us, given that particular price for that company. I think that's just my 2 cents. That to me, that's a large amount of money to pay to outsource when, essentially we're saving benefit costs, if you will, but that is somebody's annual salary for that position. I would have to think twice about that.
Thanks, Karen. We appreciate your insight. We do have the 90-day out option as well. We're making the transition. Aaron and I talked briefly about that to see how it works. As a backup, just in case we do have any kind of issues with the transition, or Aaron gets sick or whatever it may be.
The only other thing that I would contribute to that thought, David, is there's an exorbitant amount of time and energy that goes into implementation of a program. So, when you go through that, I know there's a 90-day opt-out period, but I guess before you would make that leap, I would make sure that it's the right move, because of the time and effort that it takes in the implementation phase. I mean, Aaron's going to have a lot of legwork to do to get that outsourced. Preparing reports, census information, deduction information, that kind of thing. And you don't want to go through that process unless you're pretty comfortable knowing that you're moving to a platform that is going to work for the district.
Understood. I appreciate that. We'll continue to work on that piece of it. We are making these modifications to the job description this evening. any anticipation of hiring Tammy's replacement. So I'll continue on just with the sake of time. We have a director of special ed updated job description, created that back in 2013. We modified it. We had the administrative team take a look at it and have it in front of you this evening in the hopes of hiring a director of special education in the near future. So I do have the job description for business manager and central office school board secretary out to the school board members. Take a look at it. Aaron and I have been back and forth, and we're going to be able to separate a little bit of that payroll, offer some help and support into the business office with the ultimate goal of training a full backup. And I understand it's not going to be perfect, but if they're working in the system on a regular basis, then I think that we can have a better option than what we've had before. So moving down through the agenda, letter F is a motion to hire a central office school board secretary on the 18th. We will be interviewing later on this week and hope to have a recommendation. In addition to that, we'll be interviewing Thursday morning for a full-time heavy-duty custodian. I do have James and the maintenance crew coming down. We'll interview 4 people and hopefully have somebody ready for hire on Monday as well. And then also Thursday, at the end of the day, we'll be interviewing for a director of special education and potentially have a recommendation for you on Monday as well. And then just finishing off, we're working with Mr. Sherman. He provided us with an update. We still have some vacancies. As you see, the assistant junior high boys basketball coach, junior high volleyball coach, and 2 assistant softball coaches. So if you know anybody out there who would like to work with kids and help out in those athletic endeavors, please send them our way. Any other comments on personnel before we move into instructional services? Okay, getting started on the top of page 3, I am going to turn the first 2 motions over to Dr. Jordan. He's going to talk a little bit about the high school culinary 2 curriculum that he brought up maybe 6 months ago, and then also talk about the musical co-op with Union School District. So, Bill?
Yes, thank you, David. First, the culinary 2 curriculum. I had discussed this with Mrs. McKinley probably 6, 8, maybe even 10 months ago. And we just felt that there was another curriculum that we needed for students that would take them beyond the basic culinary class. And it also, she needed something that she felt would be able to help to be able to fundraise monies for continued operations at the school, for kids to be able to try different things and to go beyond just the classroom. So that if you look through that curriculum, if you get a chance, it deals a lot with more than just cooking. It's about, planning, the budgetary part of it, working with large groups of people to be able to prepare, different meals and different products for them. And as we had discussed with the board previously, we added also that students would be able to get some kind of safe serve certification along with that too. For me, that's a good option because that is something that I can put into the students' graduation pathways and help us out with that part. The second one was in relation to the school musical and being co-opted with Union on that. To be honest, the numbers at both schools has been a little bit low the last couple of years. And this is an opportunity for us to kind of pull our resources together with Union, similar to the athletic programs. And I think that it's just really going to benefit students. These students all know one another anyhow because of the band and because of athletics and being able to, do those things together. And the musical is just another step in that direction. AC Valley has, of course, the auditorium where Union doesn't have an auditorium. We're trying to work out some of those details a little bit beyond what the agreement says. One of the other issues that came up was if we purchase certain items for our musical, where do they go? Because if you look at the agreement, it pretty much has a shared financial responsibility. So we're kind of working through some of those things, but I think that the agreement is good for both schools, and it pulls more numbers together so that um, both of the musical teachers, Mrs. Lowry on our side, and their instructor, they have more options, because when you start to get less students participating, it makes it very difficult to be able to have some of those different musicals as an option to be able to perform. Thank you, David.
Thanks, Bill. Any questions or comments for Bill on those two items? Okay, moving down to the third item under there, we have a service agreement that we've been working with, and we met with Clarion Family Psychological Center, and one time they provided a social worker, and we were a host site, and we no longer have that particular situation going on. So we've reached out to two other vendors that could do a similar program, and we had part of the administrative team as well as Anna Smith, and Anna's with us this evening, and I'm going to turn it over to her to talk a little bit about the importance of having a host site down here, and talk a little bit about some of the strengths of both programs. And the one is Next Step, and the other program that we met with is Glade Run. So at this time, Anna, are you on with us?
I am. Thank you.
Thank you.
Good evening, everybody. As Dr. McDivitt said, we currently operate as kind of a host or satellite location for family psychological services. Due to some things on their end, they have not been able to staff that. So we have had a significant number of students who have unfortunately gone without their outpatient therapy. So as he said, we met with Next Step as well as Glade Run. And I would say I felt that it was pretty unanimous with our thoughts, but I will kind of share what that could look like on either end. So sort of on the back end of that, you kind of have to get a blessing from each county. And so, as you know, being in 4 counties, that can be challenging. So I have made some connections. I'm still working through that with a couple of the counties. But basically, the counties each have to approve operating as a satellite location for the provider. And what that allows is it truly is so beneficial for our families. If transportation is a barrier or scheduling, they don't have to worry about figuring that out and navigating that for their child to receive any outpatient support. Right now, we do have a mental health specialist full-time. I think Dr. McDivitt might have shared some information that she provided, and she is through the intermediate unit and does a fantastic job in our district, and sees about 50 students, but there's a lot of other things on the back end that goes into that work. And so in looking at what Next Step and Glade Run can or could provide that would be synonymous is the ability to connect with each of those counties to become a satellite location, which is what we've had. Next Step has not actually done that in each of the counties where we are. Not that they couldn't, but she was transparent that they have not worked with every county that we are in so far. Glade Run has done that, but again, it's the same process for each. There are 2 things from my side, and I think talking with the other administrators and just looking at our needs in the district, that would put our recommendation towards Glade Run. They currently have somebody part-time who is interested in becoming full-time. So obviously operating as a satellite is no cost to the district. And so, they would work through insurance or medical assistance, like loopholes to get kids seen. But they currently operate in Keystone School District and Clarion School District with a cost to the district, but in the same capacity as the mental health specialist. So currently we had between 30 to 40 students being seen through family psych who are not being seen, which is almost equivalent to the caseload that Mrs. Davis has. So as we've seen, those needs aren't going away. Their capacity, if the board were to move in that direction, and then, we've discussed that budgeting wise to have a full contract, is they would be able at a fraction of the cost come in and provide all of the same services in the manner that Mrs. Davis does, which really just allows us to be more proactive with our students. It takes away some of that insurance barrier for students. And then the second caveat that they have that Next Step does not have is the connection to any sort of psychiatric or psychological care. So a lot of times we have students who they have that therapy as one piece, but maybe there are some other concerns going on. And it can take months and months for families to get in to be seen. And again, with being in 4 counties, that's something that Mrs. Davis does with working with families and trying to get them appointments. And it is an exhausting process. Right now, Glade Run has a connection through them, and it's about a 4-week turnaround. So again, kind of the two things that really stand out for me is one, they both can operate as that satellite. But the ability to, at a budgeted cost, provide a 5-day-a-week, all-day support to our staff, to our students, individual small group therapy. And then again, that next step of if they're being seen or are there needs that lend themselves to a student needing to be seen by a psychiatrist or something of that nature, looking at med management, we can see a quick turnaround for that. So that's just a little bit on that end and how that operates in terms of a satellite site. So it is a process to get that. Like I said, I've started the behind the scenes calls just to begin working in that because it does take time. As I'm sure you guys know, we have our student assistance program that we're required K-12, and right now we have students with referrals, but there's just no one to see them. So, we're just trying to do our due diligence to ensure we are supporting our students in their mental health.
Thank you, Anna. Does anybody have any detailed questions about either the agreements or the supports that are provided to students for Anna? She works with them on a daily basis. Okay, well, thank you for your time, Anna.
You're welcome. Thanks, guys.
Okay, so I'll have both agreements in front of the school board, and we can have a detailed discussion and vote on Monday to provide our students with some additional supports. And Mrs. Austin's working on her student numbers. We'll have them for Monday. I don't have them with me right now. And I'm going to finish off with some policy updates. And we have the first reading on 3 policies in front of me this evening. And to be more transparent and to talk a little bit about the school board meetings and public participation, we do have policy 006 and policy 903 in front of you this evening. And they will be updated. Not many changes on 006, but that's just a policy that provides guidance with our meetings. We do run our business-like meetings according to the Robert Rules of Order. We must have a quorum there to vote on anything. We do not vote during the workshops, so we are asking the public to participate at the voting meetings, and they do have the right to speak and address the school board at the beginning of each meeting. We do have notification that goes out after our reorganizational meeting, and it's also posted to the website as far as the dates and locations of our voting meetings. So that's just a few updates on 006. And then the public participation, like I said, they have the right to address the school board before voting items, and we do vote at the voting meeting, not the workshop. Then we have policy 801 in front of you. And just keep in mind that our business manager is the open records officer. And at times, she does get inundated with requests. And the policy updates this evening are going to focus more in on anonymous request and the ability of denying that request. Because with AI and everything else associated with it, there's a lot of phishing emails out there. And as we look into it, and we cannot directly identify the requester, then and they're not a legal resident of the United States, then we will be denying those requests. And then we could take a look at that on an individual basis as well. But in addition to that, we have to have our request acceptable forms posted to the website, and Aaron has that taken care of. And then also, we cannot give out confidential proprietary information to a requester. That's been updated. And then also, if there's any kind of appeal process, then we have to appeal that within 7 days. So there's a couple updates associated with the open records that may help relieve some of the burden associated with those mass robocalls. And then with policy 903, public participation on board meetings. And again, this is a updated policy altogether from PSBA, and we will get this out to you. And again, it goes back to the board recognizes the importance of a diverse viewpoint and commentary. Policy addresses the right for the public to comment at open board meetings and prior to conducting business. So we have it open to local taxpayers, our employees, or students can approach the board. Copies of the agenda, which include a list of each matters of the business, will be distributed at the meetings, and we do that as well. We also have down that public comment should not exceed 15 minutes. And we also have that each person states their name and why they're there, but they have 5 minutes to address the school board, and they can't repeat and have repeat other items later on in the meeting as well. The public comment is recorded in the board minutes and is recorded in the official minutes that go out. And the person who approaches the school board from the public has to state their name and then the subject of their testimony. So again, just to be fully transparent and to update a couple policies that have not been updated for a while, we have those 3 in front of you, not to mention the second reading of the other policies that were recommended to be updated through PSBA. And I addressed those back in October. So we vote on them in November, then they'll turn into policy. And if there's any questions about the updated policies or the ones that are on the second reading, I'll entertain those at this time. Okay, hearing none, that will conclude my section of the workshop. If there's no other questions or comments, and we will go ahead and conclude the meeting. We do have, as you can see, just correspondence, and we could talk about that at the voting meeting, but PSBA sent us a book and a letter associated with it for the elementary students. Okay, hearing none, I'll go ahead and close out for the meeting this evening. I hope everybody has a wonderful Veterans Day program, and I would be remiss if I didn't thank everybody who participated today at our annual Veterans Day program. It went off and was absolutely fantastic. I thank the school board for letting us have school on this day. It was very meaningful for not only the veterans themselves, but also the students up there at the high school. So it was a great program. It was fun to be a part of it. Have a great night, everybody.